Maybe I should develop a fake accent. Flavors of autumn. Today, I'm gonna do this video reviewing an Alpine Fresh. I was reading the ingredients on it, and it's lavender. It's weird how they put lavender in a lot of stuff, but it doesn't really. If you gave me this odor in a perfume store, I'm not sure I would say lavender. It smells like pine trees to me, kind of. What's like Alpine anyway? I read some Quebec stories. This hat couldn't be more appropriate. I was kind of jealous of their hats because they look super cool. Like they look like this one, but they got like embroidery. And yeah, I wish this kind of hats came back. And yeah, I was surprised because I lived in Quebec, not for long, probably like 3 months, Montreal. And it's a weird place. It's interesting. It's one of those cities where you can see the division between the French and the English. And it's weird because when you cross to the English side, you feel like if you were in, in American city. You can really, there's a certain way that English people like to arrange their cities. You could be in Sydney or Melbourne or Toronto. And the French side, it's very different. It's more, the buildings are not as high. It doesn't feel as international. It's more conservative, more Catholic. But yeah, so they were weird. I've never like encountered Quebec stories. And I was living in Puerto Vallarta in Bucerias. Bucerias, it's called like Little Canada. It's got a lot of, there's the biggest community of Canadians. It's in Chapala, which is like 30 minutes from where I'm from. And it was kind of like a weird neighborhood. They have like newspapers in English. They used to have them, and it's a lot of older Canadian people. And there's something weird about the energy of those places, because I remember when I was a kid, it was kind of like older people, but it was also, it felt like bikers. It also felt like, yeah, like a specific kind of snowbirds, if you know what I mean. And Bucerias kind of had that, but Bucerias, it's more Quebec oriented. It's like where a lot of Quebecois people go. And they were friendly. They're very different. Like the French and the English, to me, the English come more friendly to me. And the Quebecois they're very nice, but in a very different way. And they can be colder and more, like more European. That Europeans can be kind of rude, and Americans or like English people, they're like hello and they smile. And yeah, like in the supermarket, I met a lot of English speaking Canadians, and they were super friendly, and they were like, look at our groceries, and they were like very nice. And I'm not sure if it came from the heart. They were trying to persuade me to give like English lessons because they said your English is really good. But yeah, you don't meet that many Quebecois. They go there because they can buy houses for very cheap on a beach front. And yeah, but okay, so the stories, they were weird. It's the one that really caught my attention. There was like this French guy who was fighting, and they had like a fortress, but he met like an Indian girl, a Native American girl, and he kind of started having sex with her. I don't think he got married with her, so she got really attached. And I think this is a theme that we should explore more, how there's like this bondage that happens. I'm imagining on her mind, she was totally in love with this guy, and he's just changed from mission. And they're going further inside Canada, and he just leaves her, and then he marries like a English or French girl. So it seemed like they were having a happy family for a while, but all of a sudden he finds out that the Indian girl was sneaking in, and she gave chicken pox to his new wife, to the one that married. So it's kind of a horrible story, right? And so he goes to the forest, I think after the French wife passes out, and he finds the Native American girl in the forest, and then he looks and it's a wolf trying to attack her. A wolf trying to attack him. So he chops a hand with a sword, and later on they found the woman's hand. And he said something that I thought it was interesting. He says that he got her baptized, but she went back to pagan traditions, so she became an Indian witch again. And it's weird because it's I did like a question in my Twitter, like, how many people in Mexico do you think that practice witchcraft? And a lot of people said like 40-30%. This started because I saw an interview of like a very important witch in Mexico, and he said the 95%. And yeah, so I don't know. And it also these things of animals converting into humans. It's a very common narrative, so it's interesting to find it again in Canada. In the US there's also, but there's like one in Skinwalker Ranch. And I was wondering when I lived in the forest if some animals that I saw were humans disguised as animals. I don't know, maybe not, but you never know. Like with these stories, it's interesting. And I also thought it was kind of like heartbreaking. Something that I found interesting about the Quebecois stories are that they're very subtle, and they're told inside wooden cabins. But the outside seems very scary because there's like another story of these Indians that turn into wolves, and they start cannibalizing one of the French guys. And yeah, so it was like, that would be so scary, right? Like going into the forest and seeing a group of people eating your friend. That must not be fun. And it's probably exaggerated because it's a story, maybe not. But yeah, I had like this idea because I went to my friend's basement once, and I was reading American old encyclopedia. And it said that the Quebecois had a very good relationship with the Native Americans, and they traded, but these stories didn't seem that friendly. And yeah, what do you think? Interesting, right? Yeah, there was like 3. The other one was horrific. It was like a serial murder case, but they don't know who it was. So they decided to put her in a cage in display, and the cage kind of walks. So it's, yeah, I didn't know the Quebecois had kind of a dark side. There was also a flying canoe, and it was like fueled by the devil. And I don't know, Catholic stories are interesting because they talk a lot about like holy water and stuff that I wasn't very familiar on the stories. Like if you want to kill one of these witches, okay, it's going to 10 minutes, but you need to carve a cross on their forehead with a knife. Anyway, hope you like it.